What's up, guys? Michael Evans. I am your host for this episode of The Kingdom. It is the post live reaction to Harmony and Chaos's episode 90. Man, what a freaking episode we got last night. It's the end of Dark Swirl. She met her end at the hands of Super Alicorn Shadow, much to the delight of all of you in the chat last night during the premiere. We also have Equestria's new threat, Aeon. That's right, Aeon. We already knew he absorbed Nightshade's portion of the Triad of Power. And after all the midst of all the chaos with Dark Swirl, at some point he goes to Tartarus and absorbs Sonya's share of the Triad of Power. So now Aeon is 2/3 away there to completing the Triad of Power. And as we saw at the end of the episode, he goes back to the past to try to achieve his goals. Will he be successful? Time will tell. We also saw Cosmo and Cream reunite with their friends from Mobius. But is Cosmo's return going to cause some issues? Will it cause some rifts? That also remains to be seen. Anyway, guys, again, I am your host, Michael Evans, for this episode of The Kingdom, and we are just going to go ahead and dive right into this episode, which saw a lot. We saw a lot. I know I don't have anybody in the chat yet, but I know you guys should be coming along shortly. So, this was the first episode that I used voice actors for, which was one of the reasons why the episode was so delayed in getting out. I want to apologize to you guys for that. I'll explain more toward the end of the live stream why it took so long in getting this episode out. There's a lot of different reasons. We had some sound issues during the episode. Some of that was Discord. Some of that was individuals' mic volumes. It just depended on the situation. I tried to augment the sound as much as I possibly could in the episode. In my editing, sound editor / sound recorder, voice recorder, I maxed the volume out as high as I can go for some of it. But yeah, I thought the voice actors were really good. I know it was kind of humble jumbled with me jumping in for some other people, and I promise we're gonna have this thing more organized for the next episode. Like I said, I'll explain more at the end of this live stream because I have a whole segment planned out for that at the end. So anyway, we're just going to go ahead and dive into the episode, which was titled episode 90, titled Equestria's New Hero, which we all would come to find out that was Shadow the Hedgehog. So the episode opens up. We're in Ponyville. Oh, hi, Nicole. Thank you for joining me. We kind of had a mess last night. I was trying to include all the voice actors, at least voice-wise, so they can chime in on this live stream. But it's going to be a work in progress. I promise I'm going to try to include the voice actors moving forward in these live streams. I just have to figure it out. So we open the episode in Ponyville, and it starts off with Knuckles asking Twilight if she thinks Shadow is powerful enough to bring down Dark Swirl. Twilight says she's not sure because she feels that they haven't seen Dark Swirl's full power yet. Discord then chimes in and says, "Believe me, we've seen all Dark Swirl, all of her power. Believe me." So moving forward, the Twilight and the princesses decide, look, we should probably meet up. We should have everybody meet up at my castle in case we have to go into exile. So Silver goes over the communicators and announces to the rest of the team to meet up at Twilight's castle. So in the event they have to go into exile, they will go into exile together. But they forget that the elements of nightmares also have communicators. So Applejack heard over the communicators that they were all going to Twilight's castle. So then when Rarity gets back with Applejack, Nightmare AJ, they have a discussion as to what their next move should be because they've been separated from the rest of their team. They had Rainbow Dash, who was still out of it from Spike's attack. So Applejack tells Rarity, look, I know we don't, do you really need Sonic? I already know that Twilight and the rest of the heroes are going to meet up at her castle. So we go into the opening credits after that. And then we come out of the opening credits and we go right into Shadow versus Dark Swirl. And it opens up with Shadow just completely obliterating Dark Swirl. He's throwing her around. He legitimately is just throwing her all over Canterlot Castle. He's bouncing her off the walls. He's bringing her close so he can punch her in the face. He's doing all kinds of things to her, and eventually he just uses his alicorn magic that he got from the princesses and just hurls Dark Swirl into the ground, into the floor in Canterlot. Let's see, what else does he do? He winds up delivering a massive Chaos Blast after that, which the blast could be seen from Ponyville. And it was at that point that we saw Twilight have her reuniting with Spike. Spike tells Twilight that Sweetie Belle's parents were killed in the battle, along with a lot of other ponies who died. So Twilight gives her condolences to Sweetie Belle. Spike did not have the opportunity to tell Twilight in that moment that Cream had returned. In fact, Discord even tells Spike, you didn't just see the blast that shot out of Canterlot. So before we move on, Nicole Kala chats, Shadow beat the crap out of Dark Swirl, which I feel like he would do, of course, absolutely, with the kind of power Shadow had. You guys all voted that you guys wanted Dark Swirl to die, and I know there was a lot of celebratory chatting going on when you guys aren't going to miss Dark Swirl, I'm sure. I had a blast voicing Dark Swirl. I thought she was delightfully evil. She was one of those characters that was so evil that sometimes when she would comment or have dialogue, it was so bad. It was so evil. It actually wound up being funny sometimes. So, Lion God 360. Yo, what's up, Michael? What's up, man? Glad you guys are joining me. I wanted to get this live stream done today before I head off to work in a few hours. So, I just wound up not coming back on. We wound up just hanging out. I just wound up just hanging out with the cast. We tried a couple of different things until we figure out how to get this live stream working properly. I would love to include some of my cast in every one of these live streams. I think that would be cool. You guys can interact with them. They can answer questions as well. I think that would be really cool. Moving along. So after Twilight reunites with Spike, we go back to Canterlot, and Shadow heals Nightshade in the wake of him blasting away Dark Swirl. And Shadow still can sense an influx of alicorn magic. He could still sense the evil of Dark Swirl. And tells Nightshade, you can't feel that power. You still can't feel the influx of magic. You're an alicorn. You should be able to feel this. And that's when Nightshade tells Shadow, Aeon stole his powers. He absorbed all of his powers of the Mark of Herc and all of his alicorn magic. So that's why he cannot sense Dark Swirl at the moment. And Shadow's shocked by this because now Aeon has absorbed at least 1/3 of the Triad of Power now. Dark Swirl returns. She attempts to stab Shadow, but Nightshade, after being healed by Shadow, shoves Shadow out of the way and takes Dark Swirl's unicorn horn right to his shoulder blade. Goes through, And it's at this point, Dark Swirl's about to send an energy blast through her horn. And if she would have done that, it would have obliterated Nightshade. So Shadow steps in, grabs Dark Swirl by the horn, and shatters her horn to pieces. And if you remember from the prior episode, Sonic was on his way to Canterlot. So when Shadow breaks her unicorn horn, it essentially broke her magic off the elements of Nightmares, and then it broke her hold over the element holders, and they were no longer corrupted. Sonic turns back to his normal self, and then makes his way into Canterlot Castle. At this point, Dark Swirl is writhing in pain and agony, and Sonic goes ahead and tells Shadow, finish her. Do it now. Don't mess around. Just finish her now. And be done with it. And Shadow obliges. He kicks Dark Swirl in the face. She goes flying out of the castle several miles outside of Canterlot. And then Shadow, of course, in his explosion of power, brought to you by Chakra X and the Nazo movie, went to town on Dark Swirl and completely obliterated her with a barrage of energy blasts, and then finally the death blow of the massive chaos blast that finally did away with Dark Swirl. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and jump back into the chats over here. Lion God 360, the reels at the end had me dying. Yes, they were hilarious. I didn't include all of the gags just because this was already a very long episode, and I had to keep making room on my phone, so I wound up deleting some of them. Meg, who voices Rarity, she's a riot, and as you guys saw in the gag reel, she had called Capper Caper twice, and it just made for a really funny moment. And then Chica had a lot of gag reels. She sent in near the end of the episode. She just voiced on her own because she had to leave one of our voice sessions early. But she asked that I send her lines, and she was like, "Expect gag reels." I was like, "Okay." So yeah, we had a lot of fun with the group recording sessions. Were a lot of fun. We did a lot of laughs. We had a lot of fun. Some of these slides we had to do like 6 times just because either one of us would get tongue tied or we would forget to would forget to jump in and actually do our lines. Nicole Kala, I can't stop laughing about Plush saying Twales as Sonic. Yes, actually Plush, we went crazy during the voice chat when we were all recording because Plush hadn't had a gag reel the entire time. And when he finally screwed up a line and said Twales, we could not hold back our laughter, and Plush literally left the chat because he was so pissed that he messed up a line. He literally got up out of the chat. He literally, after he literally stopped recording, stopped the gag reel, and he legitimately left Discord for like 5 minutes because he was that frustrated. And I go, wow, he's legitimately upset. But no, Lion God 360s is laughing, laugh emojis. Yeah, it was funny. It was funnier being a part of it and actually recording it. And then when he came back, you could just tell he was flustered. I don't mess up lines. I go, dude, it's all right. I go, when I was voicing Harmony and Chaos by myself, I mess up very much, but I still have my mistakes. You guys would never know it, but it is frustrating when you do screw up because you want to get it done, and and especially for me, a lot of my mistakes when I was voicing Harmony and Chaos by myself, a lot of my mistakes would happen near the end of the slide. So I would make it through all the way toward the bottom of the slide, and then I would screw up. And that is where I get most frustrated, when you make it all the way to the end of the slide and then you screw up a line. And then the way I used to voice act, I would have to go back and redo the whole slide again because, so Nicole Kala, I mess up lines. It happens. Absolutely, it does. You can't help but sometimes get tongue-tied, or there are times you feel like you can deliver a line better. There's a multitude of things that make you mess up. Sometimes it could be a text going off on your phone. I know I tried to voice act. I get the best sound reverb in my kitchen where I'm doing the live stream right now in my dining room. It seems like every once in a while a truck will go by and it will throw me off. But that's the only bad thing. I mean, every once in a while the trucks will air brake and they're not supposed to do that, or engine brake. But yeah, we'll get diving back into the episode. Let's see. After that, Shadow and Sonic reunite. Sonic tells Shadow he did an amazing job, and he's the new hero. Shadow reassures Sonic that everything's going to be okay. And really throughout this entire episode, we see a different side of Sonic. He's not that confident, cocky hedgehog that he normally is. And that's understandable because he feels terrible. So Shadow has to reassure Sonic, like, look, we're going to still need your power moving forward. What Shadow doesn't realize is that the power he has right now, the Alicorn magic that was given to him, Shadow doesn't realize at this point that that magic is always going to be a part of him. And Shadow moving forward, I will go ahead and say this, Shadow can now go into his normal super form at will. He won't need the Chaos Emeralds to go into his super form anymore. Mainly because the Alicorn magic is going to make him that much more powerful. We saw the same thing happen with Twilight in the canon MLP series when Cadence, Luna, and Celestia gave them all their Alicorn magic. Twilight became infinitely more powerful after that because that magic, even though she gave it back, never really left her, and her power grew after that. So the same thing with Shadow. So now Shadow is always going to have the Alicorn magic. We all know Shadow's immortal to begin with, but now he's going to have some crazy, crazy powers. Like I said, he's going to be able to go into his regular super form at will. He will, however, need the Chaos Emeralds to go the Hyper Shadow form / what I'm going to call the Super Alicorn Shadow. He will be able to hit that every time he uses the Chaos Emerald. So when Shadow gets all 7 of the Chaos Emeralds, he will transform into Hyper Shadow / Super Alicorn Shadow. So now Shadow has Alicorn magic, and he's going to use it. So he's become a lot more powerful than he was prior. I'm just going to go ahead and say that right off the bat. But Shadow doesn't realize that yet. So Shadow tells Sonic, look, you're going to be okay. Equestria still needs you because this power that I have is only borrowed. It's not mine. So by all means, we're still going to need you to defend Equestria. Sonic, of course, is doubtful. And Shadow also tells Sonic, look, Aeon absorbed Nightshade's powers into his crystal. We got to meet up with Nightshade and get back to Ponyville because we need to start planning on what we're going to do about Aeon. Sonic agrees. And then we wind up back in Ponyville. Once they reunite with Nightshade, Shadow uses the Chaos Emeralds and they use Chaos Control to get back to Ponyville. They get back to Ponyville, and then obviously there was happy reunions. Twilight, obviously elated to see Rainbow Dash and her friends restored back to normal. Obviously Shadow returns, and Twilight is ecstatic and very proud of Shadow. We also see some other scenes as it pertains to Tails, Cosmo, and Fluttershy and Cream. Fluttershy winds up landing. She's still very beat up from Cosmo's attack when Cosmo saved Tails. So we see a bloody Fluttershy land. She basically pleads her forgiveness to Tails, and Tails does forgive her. But as you saw later on in the episode, and really it's not so much what Fluttershy did that's affecting Tails right now. It's having Cosmo back. And then you factor in what Fluttershy did, but it is definitely more the Cosmo effect on Tails, why Tails is, you know, the way he is with Fluttershy right now. So eventually, when we get through all this, we wind up back at the castle. We go to castle sequence. There were 2 Twilight Castle sequences. We're gonna go ahead and dive into the first one. Once they get into Twilight's castle, Celestia basically she praises Shadow, thanks Shadow. It is also at this point, Nightshade tells Celestia that Aeon has absorbed the Mark of Herc powers out of him. And then we hear Shadow say, look, we should probably go to Tartarus and get Sonia and get her out of Tartarus so we can at least protect her so Aeon can't absorb her powers. That was the whole preface of why Celestia and Discord went to Tartarus. They were trying to rescue Sonia and bring her back to Equestria so Aeon could not attack her. But as we would find out, they were too late. Aeon had already gone to Tartarus, opened a portal to Tartarus with his crystal. He attacked Sybaris, took the key from Sybaris, unlocked Sonia's, prison cell, because magic can't get through that prison cell, obviously, because if magic could, then Tirac would have been freed. So I guess somewhere along the lines, those Tartarus prison cells, you can't escape with magic, or magic can't go in or out of those. I don't know how it works, but Aeon,
power off.
Sorry about that. So we see Aeon. We don't see Aeon, but Aeon winds up getting into Sonia's prison cell to try to absorb her powers. She fights back, but obviously after Aeon absorbed Nightshade's powers, he's a lot more powerful than the last time Sonia fought Aeon. So instead of beating Aeon, Aeon beats her this time, and of course then absorbs her powers. So now we realize that Aeon has now absorbed 2/3 of the triad of power, and Tirac was a lot less than supportive. He was mocking Celestia. Why, of course it was, you twit. I loved voicing Tirac, and honestly, I actually want to remind you guys that when Harmony and Chaos, let me take a drink of my, again, Monster, please sponsor my series. No, but when Harmony and Chaos started, okay, we have to remember the timeline. The very first episode of Harmony and Chaos, the girls in Equestria, in real-time Equestria, the girls had just defeated, 9 months prior, they defeated Chrysalis and reformed the Changelings. They blew up Chrysalis's hive, and they reformed the Changelings. This is also after the Storm King and the Pony of Shadows. So, hold on, hear me? I'm getting an error message. I'm above my camera thing here. So it's saying my connection is unstable. Please wait while we try to. I'm getting all my bars. I don't know what's going on here. Please let me know. Can you guys hear me in the chat? I got almost full bars on my phone, so I don't know what's going on with this. Anyway, moving along. So again, when Harmony and Chaos started and the Mobians come to Equestria, the elements of Harmony, Twilight and the elements of Harmony, had just defeated the Storm King like a month prior. So moving forward, we still have season 8, which means we're going to deal with Cozy Glow, and then we're going to deal with Cozy Glow, Chrysalis, and Tirac again during Harmony and Chaos. So I'm essentially going to rewrite seasons 8 and 9 of My Little Pony. We're also going to get the Twilight's Kingdom. Remember how I used to write and I did like 8 episodes of Twilight's Kingdom? Well, I'm also going to bring Twilight's Kingdom into Harmony and Chaos. I knew I originally said I was not going to do that, but I'm going to, because we had that whole Katana issue. And then Twilight takes over the kingdom, which we will see in Harmony and Chaos. Twilight taking over Equestria. There's also some other things I'm going to do prior to that. I don't know how I'm going to lay everything out as far as time goes. That's why I said with Harmony and Chaos, I still have so many seasons to go before I'm actually done with this series. And to give you guys a little hint of how long season 3 has been, I started writing season 3 in April of 2019. As a matter of fact, I was at a My Little Pony convention in Schaumburg when I started writing season 3, the very first episode of season 3. And that was back in 2019. So I've been in season 3 for 3 years now, almost to the date, past that date now. So it's season 3's dragged on for 3 real years. And I kind of want to, I'm hoping by the end of this year, we're into season 4. So we'll see. We only have 6 episodes left of season 3, and then we're at the end of it. But diving back into it, again, when Harmony and Chaos starts on the Mobian side of things, they had just fought the Metarex. And it was pretty much the end of Sonic X, where the Hedgehogs and the Mobians all come to Equestria. It was basically a different spin on the end of the Sonic X series, where Cosmo still sacrificed herself. The difference was that Knuckles uses the big difference was that the Metarex shot a beam of energy from one of their ships, kind of like the Death Star, and it was and they wound up destroying Mobius. That Cosmo, even though she destroyed the Metarex, they still got that last shot off at Mobius. And just before the planet exploded, Knuckles used the Master Emerald's Chaos Control. So anyone who had a Chaos Emerald... Okay, my chat has been disconnected. Technical difficulties with this stream. I don't know what's going on with this live stream. Usually it works fine, but... So... and the other big caveat was that the Dark Oak survived Cosmo's attack. He was able to counterattack and get out of there. But okay, moving forward and getting back into the episode. After Celestia gets back to Tartarus, they learn the horrors of Sonya being drained of her Triad of Power, her share of the Triad of Power, and that Aeon now has 2/3 of the Triad of Power in possession inside of his crystal. It is at this point where Celestia decides to reopen the portal back to Equestria and go. And even though she could have just left Sonya to rot in Tartarus, but she doesn't think Sonya is a threat any longer. So she allows Sonya to come back with them to Equestria. She's giving Sonya one last chance to reform herself and be a good citizen of Equestria. T-Rex, of course, is angered by this, and he vows revenge on Celestia, although Celestia doesn't hear it. So we go back into the castle, what I titled as Castle Sequence number 2. This is the interesting part of it, because then we find out what the plan is as far as trying to find Aeon is concerned, because they realize they can't sense Aeon's powers, because Aeon's powers are artificial. They are created essentially. Most of Aeon's power comes from his crystal. So they really can't sense him per se if he's not using his crystal's powers. So we see Nightshade and Luna kind of have a moment where Nightshade tells Celestia, look, I'll go to Europony. I was planning on going to Europony anyway because I have some loose ends to tie up. I'll warn Prince William, and I'll go ahead and I'll warn Prince William. And mainly because Nightshade is not going back to his castle. He does not want to go back to his castle because of Fidget's death at the hands of Soletta. Let me try to refresh the stream here. Give me a sec. I'm refreshing. Hopefully this will fix everything. I'm writing in the chat right now, guys. Hopefully this jump starts it. All right. So there you go. So Nightshade tells Celestia, look, I'll handle telling Prince William I want to go back there anyway. I got loose ends to tie up. And he does. He legitimately wants to see Starlight again because obviously, as we know from prior episodes, Nightshade has a little bit of a crush on Starlight. So, and it is also in this scene where Luna kind of reveals that she may have a crush on Nightshade and requests to go with Nightshade. Nightshade, I don't want to say he's not reluctant, but obviously he wants to reunite with Starlight and maybe try to talk to Starlight a little bit, or at least see Starlight. But he winds up agreeing to allowing Luna to join him. We didn't see Nightshade and Luna for the rest of the episode, but Nightshade and Luna had gone to Equality Village for the night. So they go ahead and then they stop in Equality Village to kind of have a night where they get to know each other. I didn't, you're not going to see what really happened there. They're just kind of chatting it up and being friendly. They're not doing anything romantic yet, per se. So it's more of them just getting to know each other. We saw Luna when she was Nightmare Moon kind of have this thing for Nightshade. So it's continuing on with Luna now that she's back to her normal self. So moving forward, we also see, Applejack and Knuckles tell Twilight and Celestia, look, we could check the Master Emerald. We could try to find Aeon that way. But again, the Master Emerald, as we'll learn later on in the live stream, the Master Emerald won't be able to find Aeon. And we'll dive into that later. Let's see. Then we have the moments between Rarity, Cream, Spike, and Sweetie Belle, which is a very interesting dynamic. Sweetie Belle is not, she trusts Spike, but she's not sure what Cream is going to do. But Cream, as we found out, would reassure Sweetie Belle that she's not going to go after Spike and she has nothing out there. Mainly because she's an angel. And for some reason, angels cannot really interfere so much in human affairs or in real life affairs. They can assist and do things. But for Cream, this test is a big deal. It's kind of like her rite of passage. Her first goal was to protect Cosmo during that battle. Her second goal now moving forward, she can protect Equestria moving forward, is to make sure that Spike never transforms into Omega Spike again as it pertains to her and her death. So eventually she even tells Spike, I'm going away again because I'm an angel and I'm going to have other duties to fulfill. We also come to find out, and if you remember, Cosmo in Sonic X explained what her people, the Cedrians, were responsible for. They are the keepers of peace in the universe, or as they quoted it, the galaxy. So Cosmo's race is kind of responsible for keeping peace in the galaxy, keeping peace in the universe. That is why Cosmo has this grip, kind of like this cosmic grip. And that's why Cosmo's people gave her all of that power. They gave Cream all of that power to become an angel So Cream is kind of doing the work of the Cedrians in their stead. If that, I know somebody asked why Cream is an angel, or if you guys are questioning why Cream is an angel, that's why Cream is an angel, because Cosmos people, they were responsible for keeping peace. They were kind of the keepers of the peace of the universe. So now that they're all gone, Cosmo comes back because Tails planted her seed on Fluttershy's property. So that's why she was able to come back. If you recall from Sonic X, in the very last episode of Sonic X, Tails had planted Cosmo's seed in his office or in his workshop because you see the plant was growing, and that was Cosmo. So from what I gathered and the information that I gathered, that indeed, if had Sonic X continued, Cosmo would indeed have been resurrected because Tails planted her seed. I read that on Google. I read that on Wiki. And it was a question that people had. Would Cosmo have come back to life had Sonic X continued? Well, the writers for Sonic X said yes. So they kind of pieced it together as if to say, okay, yes, Cosmo was going to return because Tails planted her seed. Had there been more Sonic X episodes, Cosmo would have came back. So